All right, I'm going to be teaching how to fabricate poultry. So this is your generic chicken to start out with, but we can build upon this and use it with duck, turkey, or any other birds that have the same kind of build. The way we start is to remove the wings. So what we can do is we can pick the bird up, go between wing joint 1 and 2, drop the knife in, pull towards so you hear a small click. Pull the wing away, and we got to remove wing. So that's our first cut. Next cut will be on the other side to do the same thing. So again, lift up, wing joint 1, wing joint 2, cut straight down, pull the knife towards you till you hear a click, and pull down and remove that wing joint. From there, it's a matter of thinking about where you want to go next. So legs and thighs and the breast are where we need to separate out. So we'll start here and we'll pull away and we'll look for a nice little fat line right there. Make an incision, and not through the flesh, through the skin. Same thing on this side, through the skin, not the flesh, to remove and break away the legs and thighs. From there, it's a matter of getting your hands underneath the backbone of the bird, underneath these oyster sections, pop, pop, and remove the thigh bones from their hip joint. Once that's done, remove the flesh and skin from the back end to kind of free the breast and the legs and thighs from each other. Now, our focus will be on the breast, starting from the head and running towards the tail. We're going to cut a long straight line across the top of the keel bone. And that's whatever way the knife falls is where we're going to do our cut. So straight down and separate the breast. From there, it's a matter of starting from the tail and working our way forward. If we start here, we won't get a good clean cut against the bone. This is going to give us a much easier pull away. So we'll start back here and using the tip of our knife, pull the flesh forward and just use the tip of your knife against the bone. And that'll help you remove the flesh from the backbone. Twist it, take your breast and lift it over the back of this wing here, and hold those two together and go straight down. There should be no resistance. If you feel resistance, you're in a wrong spot. You want to stay in between the joint, between the bone here, the collarbone, and the wing joint. And that'll take care of that. And that's our first breast cut. For this one, it's the same method. So just go on the other side of the keel bone, drop your knife down, start the tail again, and then pull forward and just use the tip of your knife to separate that away. Grab your wing joint, follow the bone down. Again, no resistance, and we should have a nice clean breast to work from. So there's number 2. To get the legs and thighs off, we're going to look at this piece right here, which is our oysters. We're going to go right above them. Just cut right on top. From there, just take a finger and scoop them out. You'll see a cavitation and the oyster remains. From there, it's just a matter of cutting through the last little bit of ligament and pulling away. And then you have a leg and thigh that we can take care of in just a moment. So again, same thing here. Cut on top, scoop out with a finger, push and pull. Remove that leg and thigh. So now we have a nice carcass that's left over, and we can use this for chicken stock, or poultry stock rather. We'll reserve that for later. Now back to the breast. We have a nice clean French bone. We have a nice covering of skin, so we could use this for a sauté technique. On the back side, we have one of my favorites, or rather my daughter's favorites, which is the chicken tender. So you can make that into exactly what you think. It's a chicken tender, so fry it up and make it delicious. Kids menu. And then this is left over. We just need to trim off this little bit of skin, and we have an item that we call an airline breast. And that's what we would use for a sauté. This next piece is for a supreme. Supreme is very similar to the airline, just without this first wing joint right here. So what we'll do is we'll find the place where it puckers, and we'll just remove this from the breast. You can reserve this too, because this is a drumette, so hot wings galore. On the back side of this, we have our tenderloin. Again, we can remove that and reserve it. The classification for a supreme is actually to remove all excess fat to clean it up. It's supposed to be the cleaner, leaner meat compared to this, the airline. Modern technique now is to pull the flesh or the skin away and remove it and serve it like this. When you do this, this is a much better cut of meat for grilling. And what you'll see often is people taking this and using a mallet to pound it out and make it flatter and thinner. And you can do that with pretty much any breast that's out there. But that's called a supreme. From here we have our legs and thighs. Some people like to eat them just like this. Some people like to have them completely separated out and used for different procedures. One way you can do that is to separate the leg and thigh from each other. And you start here. And what we look for is we look for this fat line that runs right across the back of the leg. With a little bit of a bigger knife, without a lot of force still, we're just going between the joints. We cut straight through. And then we have a boneless thigh to be served. On this side, we have everybody's favorite, the drum. So to deal with the drumstick, we would like to do for finer dining purposes, we're going to do what we call Frenching the bone. So we're going to take off the large part of the knuckle and push the skin and flesh away to show off the bone, which will give us a better presentation in the long run. So what we do is we try and find the midsection of the curve in this little knuckle. We're going to cut straight through. So cut right through, a little bit more. You can see right here the cartilage is still right in the center. I want to get rid of that, so just a little bit, hair more. Remove that. These things can be saved too for stock. So now I got exposed knuckle and a little bit of cartilage left over. I'm going to use that cartilage as a leverage point, so I'm just going to push this down and remove that flesh. And so now we have a nice clean bone to work with. If you want to go a little further, you can trim off that little bit of cartilage that we just removed. It's usually where people lose a little bit of blood. Hopefully not today. And there we go. And then we can use this as a presentation piece for braising or stewing, or if a lot of people like to do grilling or roasting with this one as well. And then the last one is a way to debone the whole entire leg and thigh together. And it's a pretty common practice for dishes like ballotine and galantine sometimes. And it starts with the same procedure as we did with our last leg. So we're going to go right through the middle of it and cut through and remove that cartilage piece. Same thing again, push down to remove that flesh. Now the fun part is the reaction to this, but we usually want to hyperextend this leg to go away, and then it removes the bone cleanly so there's no meat left behind. So we can reserve that for later as well. Now we got to take out this thigh bone and the knuckle that we left behind from the pull-out. So I'm going to follow this little fat line that runs right on top. And the easiest way to do that is just to take your fingers and pinch and get a hole in between. And then take your knife and keep that oyster attached and come down like so. And then using your knife, just scrape that flesh away. And then work away around the knuckle of that chicken. And you're going to look for a feeling of that toothpick bone that people often find in that really thin kind of annoying bone, as I like to call it, that we want to remove. So what we do is we find it and we just take our knife and press down on top of it, and we can actually remove that from inside. So right here is where that toothpick's at. So you can see it right there. But this now is available to be stuffed and filled up and then roasted, grilled, poached, however you want to work with it. But it's ready to go. It's a stuffable item. And so the next thing I'm going to do is a way to make a really interesting chicken wing for frying. And it's actually a technique that I've watched and learned throughout the years, and it's called a lollipop. And what we do is we take our wing and we're actually going to remove the two bones from here and leave one exposed and the other one gets removed. And then we clean it and actually roll the meat over the end so we have nothing but meat that's here and a bone that's up here, just for fun presentation purposes. But what we do is we try and go, this is the outside of the wing, this is the inside. We bend the wing over, and then we push that down to expose those two bones. Then remove the little bone, and then take the flesh and kind of pull that over the top of the big bone, then trim off the wing tip. And then we have a little lollipop, as we like to call it. So do it just one more time for you. Outside, inside. Grab it like this, and then bend this wing over and pop that out. And then it's a matter of just pulling that little wing bone out and then rolling that flesh over the back end of the wing. And it goes right there. So to give you a little rundown on the production that we've just done, we did a airline chicken breast, a supreme, a bone-in thigh, a French leg, and then a boneless leg and thigh with two lollipops on the side.